Welcome to Tea Party Media Digital Town Hall. I am Martin Lindeskog and today is National Beverage Day. So I have a list here, my top 10 you could say. And here, Deborah.
Hi there.
Hi. And you see, Deborah, if you want to participate with audio and or video, you click on the link in the chat. Because the link that
Okay.
is on the page or that I have shared on LinkedIn and Facebook is to be like an audience. If you want to chat, for example, in the chat room and listen. But this link, the long list link that I sent is if you want to participate with audio and or video also.
Cool.
Do you
Thank
see
you.
it in the chat?
Yep.
If you
I see
click
the
on
chat.
the figures there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see that.
Great. Yeah, great. So I started out with this introduction about this Natural Beverage Day. So do you know about that, Deborah? You have a
I
day
had
for
never
everything?
heard of that.
No. So I did a search on that on historical movements and things going on in the history, and then I found this. So I was thinking of having this as this good life thing. So I will start out with my list, and I have things in nearby here also. So of course, could you guess what my first pick is, Deborah? It's
Tea?
a leading question. Yeah. So cheers. Here is my blogger mug. Tomorrow I have been a blogger for 21 years. So I started in 2002. So this is in Swedish said choppen ops with the microphone there, blogger. And in that,
Congratulations.
thanks, I have a black tea called Assam from a region in India. So it's a black tea.
I have to grab my tea. I just
Cheers.
put it on to brew. It's just in
Yeah,
the other room.
yeah. And I have a so-called a bubbler, or you see on the list that I have here besides me that could be like a guessing game what that could be. So as a fun thing. But yeah, the National Beverage Day. So when I searched on there, I got an article with some wines and some drinks and other things like that. Um, and then, of course, depending on region and countries and culture and tradition, it's you see different ones. The one that I don't have on the list is water, and that's probably the main thing. Without water, air, and salt, we can't survive in a way. So water is very important, and with tea, it's a important ingredients in coffee and other beverages also. So, but my first one is tea, and the second one is something called yerba mate, and I have could say refined or improved or new product called Unimate from a company there that's selling like direct selling products, and they have put different things in it. For example, ginger, and then you could use it both cold and warm. Usually, you drink yerba mate in like a straw and in a special container, like a mug, or it almost looks like a flower vase. And it's very popular in South America, especially in Argentina, I think. So it gives you this boost and energy kick. So this product called Unimate, or that is a fusion or you could say a refined yerba mate product in a powder form, but you could have both, and cold and hot is a new favorite of mine. And then I had to think about special drink or beverage that makes you have lots of memories for, and it's a bit celebration and so on, and it's margarita. So it's with lime. It's this orange thing, as you see here. What you say? Red rose tea. Just send me a coupon literally as we are sitting here. They must have read our minds. That's good. And so it's like a liquor, and often with then citrus fruit, like orange liquor, like now it's product placement. Cointreau, if you spell it coin tre, three in Swedish, and AU in Swedish, like gold number. Cointreau, it's a French liqueur brand. You could have others, but triple sec is one, I think, also. And then you have that's sweet and a bit sugary, and then you have lime juice that's getting this bit sour and freshness, and then you have tequila, and that's probably you know that probably more Deb than me about tequila and things. All, people into that could have lots of things to say about that. But the mix of these is very fresh, I think. And it's yesterday it was Cinco de Mayo. I don't know how much it's celebrated in Mexico, but in America I know, and other places that's time to drink margaritas and eat Tex-Mex food. So yeah, that's good to hear that you have friends with it. And on fourth place, and this is in not rank, of course, tea is my first choice. But then I had wine. I like that as a social thing and together with food, especially red wine, but also white wine and others. So I think that's an important beverage for me. And it's interesting, we're talking about social media. It's lots of people, individuals that are into social media that are into wine. For example, Gary Vaynerchuk. So, and his family has a wine business, so it's natural for them. And beer is a choice of mine also. I think it's have been a positive development, especially here in Sweden. And thanks to America, I think with the microbrewery trend, and it's a huge market in America. It's employs lots of people, and it's big business. And without talking politics, Deb, I know that a big beer brand have been in a bit of debate lately. When they are thinking about their audience and the target and how they should be in a way political correct and so on, and some backlash but also some strange backlash. And for me, and I could joke with that because I've been in America and studied and worked, and I like the American beer culture that's often inspired by Europe, the tradition of Europe. But general the American beer, especially the light beer, it tastes like like water in a way. So I think it's lots of more interesting things out there. And I listened to a speech and a talk by a microbrewer here in Sweden called Poppels, and he said that overall it's like 90% or something like that of a whole beer market is the general, what do you say, the general pilsner type, and it's so many other variants and specialities out there. But of course, the majority decides what they like to drink. But it's much to explore and find and so on. So beer is a very interesting beverage, I think. And then I like sparkling wine. Today it's this coronation, and I am a Republican in constitutional republic, not the party. But I'm not a royalist. But today is the coronation of Prince Charles, and now he's a king. And their politician that I looked up to, Winston Churchill, he had this saying that he drank champagne and it should be, what did he say? Was it dry and cold and free? And there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. But he got, I think, a champagne brand named after him. So I miss, them, yeah, and that's a sad story in its way. What did I do now? I clicked on something here. So yeah, so champagne I could probably, if I would get it for free, so to speak, to joke. And first time I had it, it was, and I have this special beverage that you will guess. A very, I thought it was almost like tasting like yeast or it was this bubbling thing, but it was also some other things that I couldn't pinpoint and didn't, like it at once. But then over time it was acquired taste, and it with festivity and bubbles, and you could have it like a small amount and it will be sparkling fine. But nowadays, and I recommend a movie called Bottle Shock talking about an American competing with French wine, and then also this story leading up to that. Some people in England, I think, created their own champagne, and you're not allowed to say champagne, but then sparkling wine or brut or something like that. This, I think, this method was created before champagne in that district, but it's not allowed to call it champagne because it's not in that local district. So, but sparkling wine I like in different forms, and in I think it's in Spain you have cava, and in others you have other names for it. So, and nowadays champagne is often looked at a luxury product, and of course, if you this original one, and it could be very exclusive, but you could get a affordable champagne, so called, or sparkling wine at a very cheap price now at good quality. The trick is to get these bubbles. If you after that, of course, you could have sweet and dry and more and less bubbles also. And then it's something that I really enjoy it for desserts, and that port or Porto, I think it's Spanish, from Portugal, and there you have a link to Britain and UK and England again, because it was they were going to Portugal, and then they had this dessert wine business, and it's fortified wine, so it's more alcohol in it, and I personally like it together with cheese, crackers, and like that after dinner thing. You could drink it as it is. If it's very old, and there you could see the quality difference. I had got to taste something that was almost as old as I am, without saying my age, but you could guess. But it was in the beginning of the 70s, and that was delightful to drink. Of course, you had to then to, how do you say, filter it a bit, or the bottom on the bottle it was this thing that it's not so taste to drink, but it have been stored for a long time in cellars. So, but it's very sweet and enjoyable in small doses, and you could sip it. I like it really. And then from my time in Hungary, in Sopron, close to the border in Austria, in Vienna, very historical place with the Roman roads and a lot of interesting buildings and so on. Where I did a school project for about 3 months, and then I learned the dessert wine called Tokai, and it's very exclusive sweet wine that's dripping in buckets, drop by drop. So it's getting very sweet, very special taste, and it's good to, maybe that's not so political to correct to say, but like foie gras in French, like this goose liver, pastei, you say in Swedish, and other things like that, or like a real delicacy. So Tokai, and there you have the different. Now I don't remember what to say, but they call it like these buckets. How many buckets are, how old it is, and how drip by drip. So it could be this bottle of Tokai could cost pretty much. So, and then you have another one from Hungary. So that's Unicum, and it's a very fascinating history. When the Soviet and the Russian the revolution, they fled the family who had the recipe, and then the communists, they did a watered down version of it. And then when they became free in 89, they came back and set up the business again. And the bottle is very special. It's like a round at the base and long, you could say, neck, and it has a cross on it. And they used it says, as a Molotov cocktails and so on, defending themselves and from the communists. And this, it's really acquired taste when you drink this. It's like lots of herbs and spices and so on. So it almost like cough medicine, you could say, the first time you drink it. But then you could say to joke, it's good for everything. You're similar to like grappa in Italy. When you put it after dinner, it getting like a good, like a lid almost on your stomach or something like that. like a digestive, they call it. No, it doesn't really for cough, but if you feel a bit under the weather or cold or something like that. So I could probably say it's similar to Jägermeister, but it's not exactly the same. But almost every country has their own sort of this herbal liqueur or with spices and so on, and often it have this history and tradition and lots of so-called secrets about and history, a story brand, storytelling about how they often it's monks or something like that that put it together. Yeah, it's always thing. But I really like it, both as it is or cold. I I don't know how good it is as a drink, like mixed drinks, but you probably could find it. And they have had the same recipe for a long time, but then of course they have to try to appeal to younger generations and to find new ways. So I think they have a lighter version and some other that they mix with some other things also. But it's very, you know, if you see that on a bar shelf on in a bar, you really recognize that bottle. So probably it helps with rest and good sleep. Yeah, that could be to do it. But of course, alcohol, in a way, it's not the best thing for sleep. It's yeah, the system is working when you're drinking, but yeah, it's similar to when you have this that I like. It's another that's not on the list, but called glögg in Swedish or glühwein in German. It's like often after ski thing or when you have been out in the cold. So it's fortified wine and then like cinnamon stick and different herbs and spices and so on in it. It's very warms you up. And then I have on the list that many have on the top of the list. And now it's maybe a mirror image here, but you see that coffee. And I like the espresso drinks with milk, like for example, my favorite is cortado. I think that's Spanish version of half and a half, or you have macchiato and you have cafe latte and others. So, and I have lots of, I mean, knowledge about it in a way because it's a similar field as tea and connections there and friends that are very much into the coffee business. And it's interesting how coffee has also, where you have this brewing style and small coffee roasters and so on popping up. And I think that's also inspiration from America and from other places to do their like a small business around coffee trade. And then as a bonus, because this is 10 different ones, I put, but maybe we could have a debate because you mentioned that in the comment, Deb, um, that you drink tea and then you drink Coca-Cola or cola or Diet Coke. And put it here, soft drink soda, but especially in soda vatten, you say in Swedish. And then that's more mineral water. And then fizzy drinks because it's bubbles again and sugar. And then pop in different regions of USA. So what do you say, Deb? Do you say
I say soda.
you say soda? Yeah. So have
Soda.
you heard about the expression soda water?
I hadn't heard that.
No, because it's more like a mineral water. But of course, it could be flavored and it could be more like a soft drink also. But soda wishy water is one from like France, that they often have like a table water with coming from the springs and the wells. So that's soda.
Mhm.
But of course, you have other like caustic soda and things that you have could have in bakery and cooking, but also for cleaning. So, but soda is probably some ingredients in the old days of fizzy drinks. Because, for example, Coca-Cola and others, they had other ingredients that they don't have anymore back in the day. And I put that in the comment that, and if you know anything about me, I'm not a fan of dictatorships. But one soda drink here in Sweden called Cuba Cola, like the country Cuba. And then when I heard about it the first time, I said I could never drink that. I'm not. I don't want to support Cuba. I mean, it was the same thing if we had North Korea pop or something like that. But when I learned about the history, they were the first cola brand in Sweden, 1953. So they were even before Coca-Cola and Pepsi entered the market in Sweden. But then they were
Oh.
not. They were the first, and they were like the champion. But then, of course, they couldn't be the number one when Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola entered the markets, and also others. But it is the original in Sweden. So now it's funny. The Spendrups family, that's brewers from beer, a private company, and with a tradition there for a long time, a family business. They have bought that brand and also found the original recipe and now rebranded it. And they try to, because in a way, and I'm now joking, they have this challenges, Diet Coke, for example, or Pepsi Cola, and it's more like often it's a choice. I remember, not again talking about politics, but I remember hearing that then in Washington and White House they changed the vending machine, if it would be depending if it was a Republican or Democrat in power, if it would be like Pepsi Cola or Coca Cola, and they have had tried to battle in different regions and in different ways, because in a blind test it's pretty the same thing. I think, but that's me. If somebody would come with an argument, I'm all for it. But it's interesting how our other cola brands have jumped. For example, I know that one that was very popular in academia here in Sweden, and I think it was like a private import from, and it called Jolt Cola, that was had much more caffeine in it, and that was from America also. I don't know how big that is, and then I know from other fellow podcasters and so on, that some of them are very into Dr. Pepper, and that's very special taste, like this
Mhm.
peppery, sweet. I can't really put the finger on it, but I like it now and then. And my favorite soft drink back in the day was called Black Orange. So it was cola and it was Fanta combined. But that's not more, so you have to mix it yourself. But it was this cola flavor, and it was this freshness of orange. So that was a thing that I liked. So with that, I will probably see here what time is. Yeah, I've been babbling around here, and thanks for chiming in here, Deborah, and see that it's working with the technology. And you like espresso? I used to get a triple shot version. That's good. So if you want to tell anything more, do you have your own grinder and coffee machine, or do you use pods? Talking about podcast, do you
Um,
use like these things, the small capsules that you put in the machine?
I do have that here at home, but when I did the triple shots, I went to Starbucks
Yeah,
to
and
go.
they are good
That
at
would
very good at
just
that.
take a little break and yeah.
Yeah. Do you know,
And
talking about that, like branding, we are not sponsored here, but one of the famous coffee brands here in Sweden, it's pretty amazing story about small business or big business in a way. It's Gevalia. Have you heard about that brand?
yes.
Golden,
Yeah.
and it's have like almost like not arrow, but the letters are in like classic old style, and often
Mhm.
gold letters and red package. That's a very now I'll probably some will be upset with me because this is very local. Gevalia is coming from Gävle place. That's the old name, I think, from this city. And don't ask me where it is in Sweden because I'm bad at Swedish geography, but it's very popular there. So they even, they sponsor like probably sport arenas and this kind of thing. And then you have here in Sweden, in Gothenburg, you have some brands that are popular, and then in south of Sweden, you have other brands that are popular, and they are very, local patriots in a way. And it has to be also with the water. I mean, if you have like we call in Sweden, it's like middle grind or strong grind, or if it's more stronger or lighter or roasted, and then of course it is water quality or water, the different kind of water in different parts of Sweden. So
I
but
forgot about
Gival,
that brand.
yeah, what did you say?
Thank you, 'cause and I pronounced it incorrectly. I used to say Javalia, but
Yeah,
we had a
Gevalia,
like
yeah, it's probably the English one, but here in Swedish you say Gevalia, but that's more harsh. So and it's interesting how they try to then say that it was very special and good quality coffee. I mean, it's probably comparable with lots of American brands like Folgers, and others, but it's not. They themselves probably say that we have been around for a long time and blah blah blah. But I would. It's a good brand, but it was funny how they packaged it. They did this very smart way with subscription. So
that's what we had, a
yeah,
subscription, and we have the Keurig, and so we would just make the coffee that way. And I forgot that until you mentioned it. It was like, yeah, we had a subscription for 2 or 3 years,
yep,
and then I think we moved and we stopped and didn't
yeah,
start up again, but we felt like it was a little touch of home because
yep.
we have our background or whatever heritage is from Sweden, so it's like, "Oh, we're getting coffee from Sweden," so we feel
That,
like it's like coming from home, you know?
that's cool because that's what they played on because it's very hard to enter a coffee market. I mean, the whole Starbucks thing is inspired by Italian the coffee style, even if it did it with an American twist. Uh, so it's hard to get into, and so they, in a way, if I understand it right, they more or less gave away the machine, and then you started subscribing on the coffee. I don't
Mhm,
know if you could use other coffee with it, or the capsules you could. It's very could be unique for like Nespresso, for example, or others. You can't use it. But now I've seen it because it cost a bit with it, and so now you could see that you could have a no brand or how to say brand name coffee capsule that would work on different machines and so on.
well, I
So
use my Keurig. I make my tea in the Keurig now. I just put the tea bag in the spot where you'd put the coffee,
yeah, okay, yeah,
and then I make the tea that way. It's really convenient. I mean, the water goes through the tea
yeah.
into
So
the cup, and then
filtration.
I put the cream and sugar in the cup, so it all kinda mixes when it's done,
Okay.
and then I stir it, and it
Yep.
works. I mean, it's kind of a lazy way to do it, but it
Yeah.
works.
We have to talk about that, Deborah, how to brew it. But I mean, it's interesting how because the coffee machines and the coffee machines at work and so on, and the small espresso machines at home have developed over time, and but still in tea brewing, it's still the simple way of not boiling water with black tea, but up to 100, and we have talked about that before, degrees and Fahrenheit. So I can't say, but
Mhm,
the up to 100 degrees when it's boiling, but it shouldn't cook. But with black tea, it should be hot and warm. Uh,
mhm.
and with that, you do often back in the day on the stove and the oven, and you could see the bubbles when getting to the temperature. But now I'm
Yep.
using a water kettle that you could put the degrees in it, so I could have like 70 degrees for the green tea and 80, 85 for like maybe oolong or others, or 95 also for that, and you can have for different types of tea.
Oh,
So
I missed the kettle. You make
yeah, so
I'm thinking
yeah, and it's interesting because I got that it was very nerdy uh, video with an American guy, I think, or was it Brit, talking about the problem with water kettles in America is due to the voltage. Here we have higher voltage in the electricity. Talk about electricity,
Mhm, mhm,
But in America, for some strange reason, they were afraid of this high voltage, so they didn't want to have so much power in it. And I'm not an engineer, so don't you know quote me on this, but it is something with that. But that led to that when you boil water here in Europe, it's much faster
right.
because and then you don't so-called have to wait. But in a way, now when I'm babbling here, a way when you do this tea ceremony or ritual or taking your time or your first cup of coffee, one thing is to take that moment. So it takes time to do good stuff. But it's interesting how these water kettles is not so popular in America. What I heard about, but it's not actually true, I think, because I think lots of students and others use it for boiling, noodles or other things like that. It's
Mhm.
pretty convenient to do that in a kettle like that. So it's interesting how you prepare beverage. And then I know people have been trying to come up with the invention of the unique tea, machine with everything encapsulated. But often I have seen Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns about it and others, but it's very hard to do that because so many elements. And talking about, I almost missed that, but I got, so it's shout out to Sus or Suzette Hammond from Being Tea. She sent me a happy birthday
Oh.
Being Tea. It's very special card because
Oh,
it's
wow.
your Being Tea anniversary. So when I joined as a supporter, or you could say subscriber, sending, like, now it's through PayPal and so on. Before it was on Patreon, like, in order to get access to her courses and recordings, but also to participate in tea meditation and tea ceremonies and tea classes and lectures.
Mhm.
She have now noted, and talking about customer service, she has noted that I became like a member, or you being tea anniversary is April 5th, 2020. So I've been then a customer for these years, and but that's my my birthday being tea member is on April 5th. And
That's
then she
nice of her to
say,
send a card.
and for every moment since that time, you have held a heartfelt place in our story. In this space, every question matters. Curiosity creates meaning. I especially hold dear your sharing for what tea brings to your life, how tea accompanies you in joy and grief, in community and solitude. These are the stories that helps us remember always that we are not alone. Wherever there is a kettle rumbling to life, leaves softening in water, and a curl of steam rising, there is a person. Wherever we find tea, we find people. Thank you for being tea with us. And and she is celebrating 7 years of being tea business. Thanks to you, Sus. And then she has written drawing with it called is it Luff? It's her mascot or some like a special uh, toy animal, stuffed animal. And at the end, it's saying what the and a quote here: "What the educators does in teaching is to make it possible for the student to become themselves." Paulo Freire or something like that. And then being T, and then you have this her mascot, and there again, Luff. So that I got for a card, and I thank you, Sus, for that, and thanks for being here. Cheers. And the bonus thing will be this. Could you guess what that is, Deb?
Just realized. I was gonna say it looks like juice or something. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a good guess. Now here, maybe didn't see the fizzles. Oops. Yeah. So it really fizzles, and it's kombucha. So it is tea, but it
Kombucha.
is with
Is
this.
it iced tea?
No, it's kombucha. Have you heard about that?
I haven't.
It's like a tea. You use often black tea, but you use white tea and others, and then you add a white sugar, and then you have this positive bacteria culture that you have like in sourdough bread, similar to that.
Mhm.
But this bacterial culture you have to keep keep not alive, but keep in order, often in a dark and cool place. And then it's so-called eats the sugar, and then gives its like it's hard to, it's also a quiet taste. It's a bit not vinegary, but a bit sour, but very fresh taste. And it says it have lots of good health aspects, like similar to kimchi and things like that.
Okay. Oh,
And
okay. I understand
so
kimchi.
it's this tradition, and become very popular at coffee places and tea places, selling for a pretty hefty price because it's lots of procedure in doing this. So it's called kombucha. It's KOMBUCHA, kombucha. And
Yeah, I found it on Google.
yeah, and the one that I bought it at like a health and market, and it called, yeah, Health Balance, and it's with strawberry and lime. So it gets a bit sweet because it could be very soury and almost like vinegary, and that's maybe not so the favorite taste maybe as a beverage. But so that was really bonus. That is a form of tea, but a special category of tea called kombucha that have become very popular lately.
Google says that another one to search for is, like you said, kimchi, but also sauerkraut.
Yep.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is this process of, in a way, it's in a way not melting, but it's a way of degenerating, in a way you could say, and these positive bacteria, and with that is with our like how do you call it, probiotic. So
Mhm.
we have lots of positive bacteria in the stomach and the gut and so on. So this is healthy for that reason. So that's similar to sauerkraut or kimchi or other things like, or yogurt. I don't know how popular it is in America nowadays, but it's this tradition often from Eastern Europe and other places, and Greece. This yogurt and kefir and all kind of different things that's coming from from the milk products and so on. And
Yogurt's pretty popular in America.
yeah,
I actually like the unflavored, which isn't popular, that
no,
people like the flavored one, but I like the unflavored, and then I
yeah,
just add fresh fruit to it or something.
that's good, and that's very popular here. And the brands and the farm, they could, because it of course it's a process here also and takes time. But you could then use this milk uh, products for lots of different things. So yeah, so that's for now, I think. So thanks again for participating, Deborah, and talk to you soon again. Do you have any things, any questions, or any thoughts, or any? Do you want to, you know, share your list? I know you had Diet Coke and tea, but do you have any other beverages that you
I
do
think
you like?
that's it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
next time I'll try to get my camera hooked up to this computer. This
yeah.
computer doesn't have a camera, but
No,
next time I'll hook
that's
it up.
great to see that it's working. And for your information, I should have. Did you see any notice that it was recording? Because I see like a orange or red dot here, so it is recording. So I
I
will have
figured you were recording, but it doesn't show that it's recording from this end.
no, and that's something that Heartland could maybe add as a feature, so you know about it, like similar to Zoom, you get this notification that.
Right,
Yeah. So,
right.
but I saw it when I logged in as an host. So, but I like the seamless, the nature and the style of this platform, and how to then integrate it in your, as I call it, digital town hall. Because then you did a comment on the upcoming meeting, and then you could
Mhm.
continue the thread there, and then you of course you could continue in specific rooms about the event and so on. So I think
This
it's
is
yeah,
Sorry. This is
okay,
very similar to what I had set up. I told you that like 10 years ago, I set up
yeah,
something where I had it live on my website
yeah,
and people could comment and then watch and then comment afterwards. This is very similar to the
yeah.
setup I had there, but I was
Good.
using Google to embed the YouTube system into my website,
Yeah.
and then I had commenting system in the website.
Wow, that's good.
But
So
but
yeah,
I
you
like
were
this. This is very clean.
yeah, great. You were ahead of your time. So, But yeah, so thanks again for being here, and talk to you soon again.
All
And
right,
happy
great.
National Beverage Day. Cheers for now.
Same to you.
Bye. Stop.